guys, what's going on? David Avalon here with Robert Drysdale for another episode of Breaking the Guard. What's going on, Rob?
Always awesome, Dave. Good life. Life I chose. Happy. How about yourself?
Doing good. You know,
house is looking nice.
Yeah. We got a lot of remodeling going on. We just finished the library room. I finished the bedroom. We got a master bath remodel and a dining room, and then I think
You're done.
we're good. And then I have to start tackling the outside.
That's a whole, yeah.
That's another issue, but like at least the inside of the house should be done in the next month or so, and we'll be good to roll. But yeah, it's hard work, man. Working around the house, like it's very tedious. I think we talked about it before, but it's like
Yeah, it's more headaches. It sounds like I'll just pay someone to take care of everything, but there's no way you're not getting involved, and people are gonna mess up, and they don't do the job they say they're gonna do, then they disappear on you. Like it's more headaches than it sounds.
yeah, and things always go wrong.
It's guaranteed. Murphy's Law is brutal, man. Murphy hates my guts too, man.
It's just weird because you could do other things where nothing goes wrong, but like with a home improvement project, it's like you can't move away from it. Like there's always something you can't account for.
I come to the conclusion of this right here. Anything that involves people, shit's gonna go wrong. Because we're messed up, man. We change our minds, we forget, we get distracted, we don't know how to do stuff, we get angry, we get emotional. And computer's a computer. You press on, it works. Your watch is your watch. These things are very mechanical and they just work. Anything you're gonna put people in the equation, it's gonna make flaws.
Yeah.
Like we're very not machine-like that, because you can be super efficient about something today and tomorrow not be. Same thing. You're having a bad day. You're less efficient.
I think there's also just in a project, there's probably like if you're working on a house, it's been worked on by a lot of people already, which means there's a lot of variables that you can't account for. And particularly like I was laying floors out, and some floors were a little chipped, or it was like a tongue and groove thing, and some of them wouldn't click in, and there's so many different parts. You're talking about like 200 planks of wood or whatnot. One of them is going to have a little defect and it screws everything up. And there was a few coño carajos I was letting out as I was working out. And Jamie's like, I never see you get frustrated. I'm like, this is how you get it.
If Dave's dropping the carajos. I've known Dave for quite some time. I've never seen him drop a carajo.
I learned it from my dad. Yeah. My dad, whenever he's doing a home improvement project, those will go flying around. Yeah. The coño! Like, oh, something didn't work out, right? So now I'm doing it. I'm like, well, I know where I learned that from. But that's all good. Now it's worked out pretty nicely. And yeah. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, I saw, I think on my Instagram, Mo Jassim, he's the ADCC.
I know. I can't pronounce his name. I think everyone just calls him Mo.
Well,
it might be butchering his surname.
Yeah, I'm sure I am. Yeah. But he's running something very interesting where he's putting this camp he called Modolfo in like Miami. I think it looks like he's like in the Versace house or something like that. And he got all these different grapplers to go in there. And there's like Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, Kaynan. He had the Rotula brothers. Was it JT? Even has Henry Cejudo. So that there's like a whole cast of people, and they're all training together in one house. And apparently they're filming this. I think they're going to make it into like a DVD or a course of some sort. But I found that very interesting because that's very rare where you can get people from all different places in one house to train together. Yeah. Right, so I've had that experience a few times, but I'm sure you had it while being here in Vegas. I'd like to take your thoughts on what you think about this. So this is like a immersion cross training that you would seldomly get, right? Like this is like once in a lifetime type stuff where you could put everybody into one room.
So we had a podcast a while ago about cross training and Creonte, and and where I stand with this is this. First of all, money talks. Pay people the right amount of money, they'll change allegiances and they change how they think very quickly. Money talks. Normally I don't think you could see, these guys train together. But if the money's right, they're gonna roll, right? Second thought, I can guarantee you they're not going to war. They know they don't want to give their tools away, they're not gonna expose themselves to a potential opponent. So they're rolling. But you ever roll with someone where like a silent agreement? We're not going to go balls to the wall. I'm not going to try to tap you. You're not going to try to tap me. You know what I'm talking about? And that happens. Sure. That happens. There's like a silent agreement where we know that the stakes are too high and we have nothing to gain because we already got paid.
Yeah,
we're here. That's our payment. I don't have to beat you to get paid. So the stakes would be too high for Kaynan to go to war with Gordon. Right? They both have too much to lose. It's on camera now. So I think it's a very respectful thing that they kind of like don't really, I could be wrong. Maybe they're pushing the threshold. I'd be surprised. I think that's what's happening. On the cross-training side, it's, I've gone all over the place with this. I started very, when you're a student, it makes no sense not to cross-train. Like you want to train with everyone. And you got to remember, cross-training, a lot of it has to do with socializing. It's not really training. You just want to see. You want to find out where you sit in the hierarchy in a different gym. You know where you sit in the pecking order in your own gym. Now you're curious. It's more of a curiosity. It's socializing. It's creating all these friendships and relationships with these other teams because we're networkers by nature, right? We like to have a broad network of people that like us, and it's not very genuine. It's very fake a lot of times. Like, hey, my friend, it's like, no, I know you. You don't like me. It's okay. You don't like me, but you're just pretending you do because, you benefit from being my friend in some way, right? So there's a lot of that going on. Now these days, as a team owner, as a gym owner, I don't like it because, if it's if it's a flow roll and it's not very genuine, yes, it's fine. But if I had a fighter of mine and he's in the UFC and he's fighting for the UFC title, for example, and he's going to fight Henry Cejudo for the title, there's not in a million years would I let Henry Cejudo train at my gym.
Yeah.
Not in a million years would I let one of his training partners train at my gym. Not in a million years would I let one of my main guys go train with one of Henry Cejudo's training partners. I would not allow I would kick that guy out of the gym.
No, it's a conflict of interest.
It's a huge conflict. It's very unprofessional. This train with everyone mindset is fun when there's nothing on the line, and I get that. If you're a normal practitioner, you don't do jiu-jitsu for a living, and you want to go to train with your best friend's gym who lives across town and whatever, okay, I get that. If we're both pros and there's cross training going on, I have never heard of the Patriots practicing with the Raiders.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And as a team owner, I would kick that person off the team.
Yeah, that's what people don't get. Like the student, oh, why do you care if, we cross-train or this and that? It's because there's a conflict of interest. If you're training somebody or you're cross-training someone and you're showing techniques that maybe your fighter is going to be using, and then they're going to compete against each other, now he's got an advantage. And now you've hurt your own team.
Yeah.
So in a competition setting, the cross training can be very dangerous because you could be exposing your team to harm because you're just trying to show everything to everybody,
And you have for example, this happened a while ago. There was a quintet here in Vegas, and we were in the final with the local gym, the 10th Planet Gym, and Max had cross trained. He was on our team, and he had trained with some of those guys at Extreme Couture, because that's where kind of everyone meets to spar and whatever, right? And so they're training partners, supposed to be friends, but the guy's in the opposite team. Yeah. It's kind of like a weird dynamic, right? And the whole time the guy's giving instruction on how to beat Max. And I'm watching that and I'm like, all right, Max, if you go back to that gym and train with that guy again, you're fucking stupid. I hope that was the last. And I didn't say anything. He got to he never went back. But, might have gone there to spar, but never rolled with the guy again because it's like, okay, man, you're going to be cornering against me? Well, F you. And I personally, I've been asked to corner against Damian Maia more times than I can count. I had at least 3 people, at least from memory, probably more like 4 or 5, going, hey, Rob, I'm going against Damian Maia. I know you're a jiu-jitsu guy, blah, blah, blah. Would you train me for that fight? They pay me. Yeah. Right? I just can't do it. To me, there's a loyalty there, even though I haven't spoken to the guy in years. There's a loyalty there. No, man, we trained together way too long. I remember when I fought. I'm not a very. I don't hold on to stuff, Dave. People do this stuff to me. I get mad for 10 minutes and I forget it. I think it's easier to live that way. You don't hold on to shit. When I fought Jacare at ADCC, the super fight, Andre was helping him warm up and cornering him during the fight, and I'm like, what the? I remember during the fight thinking that we trained together for years in Brazil. You don't train with Jacare. Why? It made no sense to me. To me, it's dude, I would never do that, right? But he did. And it's it is what it is. I don't hold grudges. Probably doesn't even remember it, but I do. I just don't hold it against the guy. But it was weird to me. It's man, you're supposed to be, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to fight, like, someone tomorrow, like one of my good guys, I'd be like, hey, man, you guys go at it. Like, Damian's fighting Gilbert. Gilbert's a Zenith member. Not in a million years would I give one guy or the other advice. I'd be like, hey, man, to me, that's, like, standard. Like, you have to explain this to people, right? But people aren't like that, man. So the cross-training thing is very detrimental in a lot of ways to a team mentality. The team is supposed to be a beehive. We're supposed to have each other's backs all the time. So it's not a controlling thing. It's more of the team benefits from having that mindset, even if you as an individual don't.
Yeah. So I agree with those points. With that being said, though, there is benefit, of course, to cross-training in the sense that you're going to be exposed to new knowledge, potentially new knowledge, right? So I think it has to be done, but in a way that's controlled, so when people ask me, like, oh, like, do I need to cross-train at another gym every day? No. But if I do it, I treat it like if I'm doing a seminar, right? Like, if I'm going to attend a seminar, I don't attend seminars every day. It's just too much information. But once in a while, I do. And everything I pick up from there, like, I'll absorb it. I'll train it, practice it. If it works out good, okay, now I'll disperse that knowledge into my beehive, and then all the other bees collect that knowledge. So I don't think it's necessary for everybody to be doing it, particularly if you're the coach. I think the responsibility of the coach is to acquire this new knowledge and hand it down to the students. If everybody goes out, tries to find stuff, they might not know what's good or what's not. It's partly why they're paying you, right, as a coach, because you're the guy who knows what works and what doesn't, and you're the one doing the homework. So, like in these situations here, like this Modolfo Camp, I think for those guys, it's going to be very beneficial for those athletes because particularly someone like maybe Kaynan, who's not training all these leg locks or whatnot, he's going to get a lot of exposure to it, and he's going to pick up something from it. But does he need to train every day with all these guys? No, I don't think he does.
I agree with everything you're saying. What I say, I think that it's hard for people to explain because the way our mind works, it's like one thing or the other. It's either good or bad.
Yeah.
And people don't always see the gray. There's good and bad both together. These things coexist, right? There are benefits, and then there's sometimes the individuals on this side of the fence, and then the team is on the other side of the fence. And and it's not an easy one because I've been on both sides of that fence. And as a practitioner, you want to have new experiences. Although I think for progress, you don't need 30 training partners. You need like 3 solid guys.
Yeah.
That's my biggest leaps in jiu-jitsu. I was training with the same person every day. Those are some of my biggest leaps in jiu-jitsu. But like we were talking about, that the team is hurt on a professional level, and there's money involved, and it's a career involved, and you're not a hobbyist. You're fighting at a high level. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't let my fighters do it. I'd be protective of the team. It's like, hey man, that guy right there you're helping right now is gonna be fighting your guy, next week. No way. And it sounds very, political and all that, but there's no way it's not going to be political when your career's on the line.
Yeah.
There's a lot involved. Maybe because I see it more as a team owner today. I don't see it as an athlete anymore because I'm not competing. So maybe that explains my change of perspective. But, it's kind of your responsibility to guard the well-being of the team as a whole. Like, if you're going against people that are going to be going against your teammates, if it's a one-time exchange, there's not that much. But if it's happening all the time, that's a problem. I've had that problem with students. They wanted to represent 2 teams and go back and forth and train with both. I'm like, if you're every now and then you want to go, like when I was in California, I visit Check Matt. Yeah. Like Lucas. Lucas is one of my best friends. Right? I go out there, I'd roll with him. That happened a few times. Lapella, those guys have a good roll, but it ends there. It's not consistent. I will not train with them consistently because they probably wouldn't like that, and it doesn't work too well. Yeah. So it's a very sporadic thing, and like the Modolfo Camp. It's not going to happen a lot, and like I said, I don't think they're exposing themselves. No one's showing any weakness or strength. They're kind of like, it's poker face the whole time. They're keeping their cards really close to their chest, and they know that the other person is doing the same, and it's a silent agreement. I'd be very surprised if they're actually going at it the way they were at ADCC.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I saw Michael Zenga was there as well, so that's why I figured they're filming this. They're gonna make this into a product of some sort.
Who's that?
Michael Zenga. He's the guy who runs BJJ Fanatics.
Okay.
Yeah, him and Bernardo Faria. They're partners together.
Makes sense.
So I saw him there with Mo. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be a product of some sort. So it should be interesting. I wonder what exactly they're going to film. Like, are they doing this like when Lloyd Irvin did his, what was it called? I don't even remember. This is what got Kaynan famous partly, was when they did that brown belt invitation.
I remember. They're like a mini, like, I didn't watch it, but I know they did like a reality TV kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And they were filming each other in the house and in the training. And so it was a really good insight, into these competitors and whatnot. And that format they had was really brutal because they were competing 4 or 5 times a day, no time limit. It was sub only. They were doing one match with the gi, one match without the gi.
Who won that one?
Kaynan.
Kaynan did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who else I forgot was in there?
I remember hearing about it. I didn't watch it, but I remember hearing about it. So.
No, there were some really good matches in there for sure. But yeah, Kaynan ended up winning that. And he did have hometown advantage, but I think technically he was just a better guy there. And knowing the way the guys at Lloyd Irvin's roll, they have great endurance. They do lots of rounds back and forth. So I think that format suited him well.
Yeah.
Because he was used to those types of grinds, doing 3 matches, like 10, 20, and 30-minute matches a day. Whereas most people probably are not used to that, or the intensity that they go at. That's why when Kaynan went against Gordon and they did a no time limit match, I was very impressed that Gordon was able to beat him in that format, because that was like going towards Kaynan's game more.
Yeah.
And Gordon still was able to.
That was a long time after the Lloyd Irvin days, though.
It was.
Yeah. And one thing, just on a caveat here, like a side note, you got to give it to Lloyd Irvin. Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to say he's a much better coach than he gets credit for, because he's been consistently putting good. I don't think there's an American coach that's put out as many good fighters as Lloyd Irvin. I can't think of any.
No, he's
like, he's been consistent. Like, I think I've done fairly well. Like, I can think of it, but like, I wouldn't put it on the same plane. Like, I see some other guys out there that have done well. You got like the established good coaches, like to me, Fabio Gurgel, Leo Vieira, like Julio Cesar. Like, I can go give you a list of guys, but like Lloyd Irvin doesn't always get put in that list. A lot of people don't like him.
Yeah,
but he's a very good coach. You have to be.
Excellent coach. And the reason why is that he follows systems.
Yeah.
That's why, like, you put in athletes, he'll give you, studs. It works that way. Like, Ali, I think, came to him as a brown belt, but from my understanding,
I think purple, no?
Or maybe purple. Yeah. I'm not sure, but he wasn't really famous yet. He was just a big dude, and now he's a world champion. Yeah. And Kaynan came to him, I think, as a blue belt. There's JT.
As a blue belt too.
Yeah, and then the new kid, lightweight,
Jamil.
That was, I think
he's the best guy ever come out of that camp.
And he's a product from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that Lloyd does really well is that he has the legacy kids. Like, there's people that start like 4 years old, and they stick with it all the way into their 20s.
So he's constantly bringing new talent.
And he has a very positive culture in there. Essentially, the kids, they start off, and then as they grow up, they start teaching, they start mentoring. So they're all about the martial arts lifestyle. You know what I mean? So it's pretty remarkable. And when you have people in the gym for 10, 15 years, the type of things that can happen.
Here's the thing, you have to create the right environment. And I don't know the environment personally, but at least on the competitive level, you can't argue with success.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it, or you can't change it. Its success is there. And like he has 2 black belt world champions, Muhammad and Jamil. Yeah. Am I missing someone?
No. Well, DJ is a no-gi world champion.
She's a no-gi world champion.
I think, was Nyjah? I'm not sure if she won.
We're probably forgetting someone, I think JT came out of that camp too. So you did a lot of other, Kaynan, so like they, in one way or another, they were impacted by that camp. You got to give the guy credit for sure.
Yeah, and you see, even like him, he has a pretty controlled environment as well as far as his guys. But he would expose them to other people as well. I was one of those guys. Like, when I came up with my Kimura trap system, he flew me over there, he said, like 3 different times to spend a week with him. And like one of them was to work with Kaynan. Because Kaynan at the time was, I think, a purple belt, just turned brown. and had no wrestling. He was all guard. So he's like, we need him to learn this thing so he can defend himself using submissions and whatnot. And Keynan's like the best success story for Kimura's. Kimura trapped Dean Lister twice. He's got Lucas Leitch. So like, it obviously worked really well for him. You know, and guys like DJ, Nija, they've all hit the system really well. So, but he's brought other people like DJ. He's infamous for his double leg.
Yeah.
But he actually, part of that was developed by Ken Premola. I'm not sure you know who.
The name sounds.
He was an Iowa wrestler, really good wrestler. And he used to run, I forget the website he had, but it was a popular site, Facebook page, memes and whatnot. It was good stuff. And he got connected to Lloyd, and then we found out, he's a really good wrestler. He's like, oh, why don't you come in, teach our guys wrestling? And he taught DJ that blast double leg.
There we go.
And I was there
but DJ does fit that description.
Yeah.
I was saying, like the shoulders attached to the ears here, and like he's got no neck.
Yeah, no, he's
built like a ram.
Exactly. They call him Ram Man.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. He was perfect for that because he's also short, so he's always low, so it's easy to run through. He doesn't have to bend his knees much. It's just drive. And I remember I was there when they started working with him because it was me, DJ, and Sadiq Yusuf. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Sadiq. He's a UFC fighter now. At the time, he was a white belt. Just came in from Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. Or he might have been here, but he's from Nigeria. And Ken was showing us, okay, this blast double leg. Now, you know it. It's not fun to get blast double.
Yeah.
It puts a hole in your chest. You know, like boom. Oh. So he's like, I don't want you guys doing it to each other because you're going to get sore and you're not going to go as hard. So he's like, we need somebody to be the uke. And they're like, oh, Sadiq. And Sadiq's like 160 pounds, white belt. Yeah. He's in good shape, but I mean, like, I don't know if he was ready for that. He's like, okay, you're going to be the guy for an hour getting blast double leg between me and DJ back and forth.
No amount of money can make me do that.
He took all the punishment.
Yeah.
Bro, and he didn't complain once. And afterwards, I remember I went to her like, man, this kid's going to be amazing because he went to train after that. I'm like, he took an hour worth of abuse from me and DJ, and look at him. And now he's a UFC, I think it's like 8-1 or something like that. He's knocking people out. So like, it's another success story from Lloyd Irvin as well. There we go. In the MMA crossover. So, but yeah, the point being that the way Lloyd does it, he will bring people in, run a seminar or a clinic, and then boom, that's the exposure, right? So I know he's done this a bunch of times with other people as well. He's had like dietitians and all sorts of stuff. I think that's a great way of doing it because as the gym owner, you're controlling the influence and you're making sure it's the right type of influence. Because I've had it where people would seek out advice from what I would consider charlatans. Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about, and they get into your fighter's ear and start feeding them BS.
Oh, there's tons of that.
Then you've now they're poisoned because now they see this guy as an authority figure, and now he's going against what you're saying, but he has a higher standing now.
And you know when that happens, and I've been doing this long enough to observe this, is as soon as they become successful, as soon as they reach that spotlight, that's when that guy comes in. It's like, and you've seen it in every like fighting / boxing movie you've ever watched. There's like that. There's that guy. There's a coach who brings the guy up, and there's like the manager that comes along later and takes him in the wrong direction, and he goes back to the old coach because the old coach really knew how to train him, right? Yeah. We see, and it's so true.
It is.
It's so true because it's sometimes it's not it's always like the evil manager, but it's a lot of times like I've said this before. A lot of times it's the wife, it's the girlfriend, it's the dad, it's the mom. Yeah. Other people that shouldn't be. It's funny, and I don't. We brought this up before, but like in collegiate wrestling, like you would never ever listen. The coach would never care what the girlfriend thinks. Right. If the girlfriend walked in, they're like, "Hey, no, this is how you should run the camp. John is doing too much work here. He's got to do more of that." The coach would be like, "Get the fuck out of here." That would be literally his like, "Get out of my mat." Go. And MMA, people that shouldn't be there are constantly, and they get into the fighter's head and they change a winning recipe. I think of this like this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have a recipe and it's worked all the way to here, why are you changing? The funny thing is, the second they get in the UFC or they reach, they're on flow. They've made it in jiu-jitsu, right, so to speak. I got to change something now. I'm at the top. I got to change it. And they get in that mindset, and I've seen it like, man, you don't have to change a thing. You've made it this far. The hard work is behind you. You just got to keep going that exact same path. And it's difficult because that's when they start getting,
all the offers.
Well, they get ambitious. Now they see that they see the possibilities, so they feel that they have to do more and change. And from my experience, that's the beginning of the end. It seems like they're going to the next level, and watching them is they lose that recipe that made them successful, and they're just like pretty much surfing the wave that was created way before. They're just like it, but it's the beginning of the end of the career. The descent begins right there.
Yeah, I've seen guys who we've built that were stone cold killers, really, really, really good, and they start getting these people in, start influencing them, and then they start falling apart. And then they're like a shell of their former selves. Like, man, just ruined a guy that could have made more of himself just because he listened to the wrong people. It's like you said, because the more successful you get, the more, like, you're like a great white. Lots of remorse are starting to clinging onto your back to feed for the ride, and they might not.
Hard to identify.
Yeah.
I was funny, man, because I was watching this documentary on, it might have been Netflix. I don't remember. It was like on Caesar, and I can't remember which Caesar it was. I think it was Augustus. All right, and basically it was talking about, his biographers would say he very lonely guy. Obviously can't trust anyone, and I was imagine what that guy had to go through. Because as any leader feels this, because the more you climb up, the less you can trust people, because everyone's got their own agenda. Yeah. And your true friends are known you can trust are the ones that were there before you accomplished anything, right? But those right there, they drift away from you a lot of times, not because you push them away, because life takes them in different directions. So my very best friends, the people I would trust with my life, don't even train jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I talk to them once a year. Right, and it's just kind of how it happens. But as you go up the top of the fighter, you don't even know who to trust. And then your wife is there with you every day, so you end up listening to her, or your dad or whatever. And a lot of times they're just looking at the money. Just because they're right there, they love you, doesn't mean they always have your best interests. So they're gonna go hey, John, or have this guy as your striking coach because he's only charging you $50 an hour. This other guy wants 10%. Now, what's best for the fighter's career? It may be one or the other, but the judgment is being made based off of price because the wife wants a bigger house. Right.
And there's that, and the fact that it's someone who doesn't know what they're talking about.
And normally,
right?
Yeah.
Because they're not a fighter. They haven't gone through it. It'd be like getting medical advice from, your uncle.
Yeah.
It's like
a plumber, yeah.
Or a plumber, whatever. It's like they don't know what they're talking about. So what they think is just price.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what makes a difference. But there's obviously very different things.
They don't see it though.
Yeah,
they don't see it.
This is one of the things in marketing that people don't get either. Like if you would call a gym and they're like, "Oh, what's the price?" and they won't tell you over the phone. Some people are like, "Oh, it's a scam." It's like, no, it's not a scam. What it is that they don't want you to price shop with them because they might not be the cheapest around, but there's a reason why. Because there's a high quality of service involved. But you're trying to treat this like you're buying from the McDonald's value meal. And this is not. This is a prime ribeye steak. So we're going to compare price. Yeah, I'm going to look bad because I'm $30 a pound, or $30 an ounce, or whatever. And the McDonald's is $1.99. But you get what you pay for. $1.99, you have diarrhea when you go to train.
Yeah.
You have the prime rib, you feel pretty good about yourself, right? So it's one of those things that you have to know what you're talking about when you pick the price. So if somebody's making the decision of how your training camp should go and isn't an expert, they're not in the position to make that.
And I agree 100%. But it takes a level of maturity to be able to, it's a personality thing. This is where like a lot of things that are outside of the cage, they're not technical at all, play a huge impact on what's going to happen inside that cage or on the mats. Because having the ability to make the distinction between a good and a bad decision on a personal level, on a financial level, on who you're going to surround yourself with. Like we're talking about social intelligence. We're talking about, knowing when to put your foot down and when to take a step back, when to give the authority to your coach, and when to acknowledge when he may be wrong. You see what I'm saying? It's a very thin line these guys got to tread. Now, you have to admire people that have managed to stay on top for so long. I can guarantee you they have a very good, balanced personal life.
Yeah, I think it is a big part of it. And you have to remember, fighters are used to, or athletes in general, are used to being coached and told what to do. And it doesn't take much effort for somebody else to try to fill that void, if the coach is not injecting himself. So, of course, a wife or a mother or a father or someone else can come in and take that coaching role and fill voids if you're not putting enough. So that's why I think it's important, because I think fighters are susceptible to being manipulated in that way.
It's not their thing too. They do what they do.
Yeah.
So having the right people. Generally speaking, family is trustworthy, but like there's always like that greedy brother, that greedy dad or mom. It's just like looking at your career. They're looking at like immediate cash, right? So,
right.
I mean,
it's
tricky, man. It's a tricky one.
Unfortunately, it's like if you look at murder suspects, it's always family or husband.
Oh no, like rapists too. Like it's always like the creepy uncle, man. Like it's crazy. But you want to be able to trust people really close to you, but they're not always. It's a tricky business, man. People are a tricky business. Like it's so complicated, man. We're always changing. To me, like the biggest question mark out of all question marks, man, is the people factor. It's a very difficult one. Like, to me, it's like psychology. Like sometimes I'm looking at this stuff and I'm going, man, are we ever going to figure out human behavior? Because you can't put the finger on it and say this is what people are going to do next. You don't know. You have no. Someone's explained to me some of that. That guy that does the salt thing, he goes like that, and everyone just loves the guy this way. Yeah. And I'm going, what is that, man? And the guy's like, oh, he's made so much money. From what? No, he goes like that. And like people pay him so much money to do that on their food. I'm like, really? How do you predict these things? How do you predict that that's going to be a hit?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just random shit that flies, man. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and there's no way to predict what people are going to do next.
It's funny. I just started watching The Mandolorian.
Oh yeah.
Right, but I told my girlfriend, the stroke of genius of the writing of this show has nothing to do with the Mandalorian and everything to do with the Baby Yoda. Right?
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Baby Yoda is what saved that show.
Oh, it's what made it, really. It's what everybody watched it, right? Like, it's the reason I watched it, because I see all the Baby Yoda memes all the time, and me and my girlfriend were laughing about these. All right, let's watch this. Say, we got to get the Disney Plus thing.
I want to adopt Baby Yoda.
And like, it's $7 a month. Okay, fine. Let's watch Baby Yoda.
But
right?
like this, if my son were born with green ears and like that, I'd be perfectly happy because it's so cute. I want a Baby Yoda for a son.
I'm like, apparently, who wrote it was this guy, Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who always plays like the buddy cop or the buddy with Vince Vaughn? He's a big...
I have to see him.
I don't know, but apparently he wrote this, he's had this for years, the script and everything. But like, I guess it was only just now where he decided to pitch it or somebody picked it up and to make it a movie. Because if you look at the credits, he's the executive producer, he's the writer, he's the director. I'm like... That's pretty amazing because he's known as an actor, and
that's great.
But he put it all together. But my question is, did he write in the Baby Yoda? Because if he did, then he's a genius because he understands, especially now. Or I'm wondering if Lucasfilms got it and then like, okay, we need to make something very adorable here.
You know how hard it is to get my daughters to watch Star Wars with me? Because we have to find a happy middle, right? Like we can't. So like sometimes it's Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, and that's kind of like the middle ground for us. But like Star Wars is something I want to watch and I can't get them to watch. They love Baby Yoda. They watched The Mandalorian with me because Baby Yoda's in it.
Yeah.
Take out Baby Yoda, see if they're interested.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. That's funny because it literally does nothing.
No, it's just cute.
He doesn't talk. He doesn't have any meaningful interactions. No. It just sits there and goes...
It's the star of the show.
I told Jamie it would be great if they put the casting like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Be Yoda. Just
It is because like Yoda, the original Yoda is such an adorable character already, and then you got a baby version of that. It's just, it's too much. I'm surprised they don't have toys out yet. I'm sure they're on their way. An AI Baby Yoda that does exactly what it does in the show, which is like nothing. Just
exactly. It's pretty easy to put together. To make a fortune because apparently it's not CGI. They made the doll. It's animatronic.
It looks too real to be.
It's an animatronic type thing. So that's what my girlfriend has never watched Star Wars, any of the movies.
Yeah.
And she's like a year younger than me, so I'm like, what the hell you been?
Yeah.
She's like, always heard about them. I'm like, one of the things that's good about those movies is that they still look good nowadays.
Yeah.
Because they actually didn't do any CGI back then. They did all models, and apparently a lot of the artwork was painting and whatnot. So they scale well, right? Because if you look at 80s CGI, it's awful. and right away you can spot
For
it.
the models, yeah, you're right.
But if you're using little models or whatnot, I guess it still looks pretty good because you can watch Star Wars now and it still looks.
It's still very good. I agree. I can watch the old ones all day and still feels like it's brand new.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dave, gotta get going back to work. Gotta go train those guys. It was a pleasure. That was a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys again next week.
Take care.